Traders, welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering NIO. I want to give you a little bit of anticipation, some of the news going on with the stock for the coming week. Now, there were some numbers released about Chinese EV that I want to cover, a little bit of the unusual option chain activity going on with longer dated call options coming in for NIO, showing the bullish thesis behind them. Now, I'm going to give you a short-term and a longer-term perspective on everything I'm assuming and going on here. Right now, it's important to know that with the semiconductor shortage, that NIO continues to outproduce what their anticipated earnings and numbers are. They continue to beat expectations. That's the most important thing to know. Even with the crisis on semiconductors, even with each country, trying to help as much as possible, they continue to beat even though the odds are stacked against them. Those are things we need to talk about. Now let's get right into the information. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. All right, so it's going to be a little bit hard to see me here in the beginning, but the first thing I want to point out is pretty important, and it's getting this data from Ortex and this information so you know. Auto sales in China surged in March for their 12th consecutive month, and you can see up here they surged 75% total in March, the 12th straight month-over-month increase on the stock, and the overall increase of the demand for these EV vehicles. Now, this is super important to know that the demand is still growing. The problem isn't that demand isn't growing. The problem is that they don't have the materials to build as many as they want to build right now. That's the important thing to notice. So we're seeing that increase year over year, month over month. Sales of new energy vehicles in EVs, including battery-powered electric vehicles, plug-in petrol-electrical hybrids, and the hybrid fuel cell vehicles increased 239% in March to 226,000 units. So 70% is just what we're seeing in the Chinese auto sales, and then the 239% pertains specifically to EV. Now, the EV number is going through the roof. That's the most important part, right? Because this is the growth sector. When you think about EV, you need to be thinking this is growth. And then I want to cover this really quickly as well. This is going over the unusual options change, right? The sentiment on the stock right now is bearish, but we're seeing a lot of sweeps come in on the call side, which is a bullish thesis with these options. Strike price at $37, so that's going to be the most optimal entries if you're looking at options for strike prices at $37. You're seeing 700 of these come in with over 5,000 give or take open interest on those. Now, this can be confusing, but let me break this down. What I'm going to do is come over and show you cheddar flow. So this is cheddar flow for the last week, and this is the option chains and how you can see the movement and the fluctuation on puts and calls. Puts meaning they bet the stock is going to go down. Calls meaning you're betting the stock is going to go up. So that's really important to know as we get into this. So as we're looking, green means call, red means put. Red's bad, green's good. That's the easiest way to show. So what I'm showing you on this right-hand side is how much each of these premiums are worth total. And then on the left, it shows the date for when the premium expires. Okay, so that's, if you're not familiar with this, I recommend getting into the live streams. I can break down options to you a little bit better, but this is some important stuff I want to show you. And so sweep is the important part. So we're seeing these 1.2 million. Those are very long dated put options. So that's not really pertaining in the short term whatsoever. That's 2022, 2023. So what does sweep mean? So when you're seeing sweep, you need to think of very aggressive. So what sweep means is they're betting on very bullish thesis of a call option. So they're betting out of the money. So the price right now is around $36, $37. They're betting at like $40, $45 strikes. It's a sweep because it's out of the money right now. So they're very bullish on the stock, and you're seeing a lot of these big money calls are coming in for sweeps, and these are all pretty short term. We have some January for next year coming up, but we have May, we have April, so we have a lot coming in. So that's really important to know, is that the big money is assuming in the short term we're going to see money flowing back into EV. This is the last thing I want to show you before we go over to the charts. This is the ratings that are currently set out for NIO. We have 0 sales from any analyst, 0. We have 7 holds and we have 11 buys. The mean rating for these buys is going up to $63. So as hold the ratings, the target price right now is $63. Right now the stock's operating at $38. Do the math. There's a 60% profit margin if we make it to that range. That's important to know as of lately. So as we're looking, this is potentially the lowest those ranges have been, and it's important to know that even with the EPS and everything going on, that we're in a crisis mode when it comes to EV because semiconductors are at an all-time low. We're going to get out of this phase. It's important to know we're going to get out of this phase. We're going to start producing at a higher potential quality. This is going to be the dip on EV. In my opinion, this is the dip on EV until the market starts to get that necessary crash and retracement. But until then, this is going to be the best opportunity to get in. I mean, even with this overall dip, the average target on NIO, there's not one sell right now. There's not one sell analyst out there. The average price is $63. On the low end, I believe the lowest I saw was $55. Make your decision, but in the portfolio, this is one of the top growth stocks. Comparing it to Tesla, comparing it to CCIV, NIO is the clear winner here when it comes to growth plays. Take that into consideration. Now, if you're familiar with the channel and you've been here before, then you might be able to skip ahead of this. It's going to be kind of an update overall on the chart. There's a few things I want to point out from this range here. To here, this whole leg, we've had a retracement to the 0.618 fib. That is the golden ratio. If you don't know about that, Google it, research into the golden ratio of the fib retracements. But we had a pretty perfect retracement, then a double bottom, and now we're moving out of this. And we're sitting on top of the VWAP, indicating that the momentum is shifting to the bulls back to the upside. Now, where do I see short-term targets? I'm looking at the 41.5 range. That's where short-term, I see the next big resistance where we need a break past. But there's a few other things I want to point out. We're getting higher lows, right? Higher lows continuously getting those higher lows. And then look how we're holding this 0.618 range. It's not coincidental where we're holding as well. So we had this key support and resistance flip. As we broke back down, we flipped below it, right? We held below and then we broke back above. That's important to know. It took us a while to break back below. But look how we're holding this range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost 6 tests right here in this range, and now we're holding it, showing that is a major support. And I love what we're seeing here. I do think there's a high potential possibility that we start pushing to that 41.5 range in the very near term. That's where I want to see us get right here. From there, we're going to need to see more money flowing into Tesla, to NIO, into these EV plays. We're going to need some good news as well to break above that range, because I do believe we're worth more than that. But in order to see money flow, we're going to need some good news. We're going to need some semiconductor news to really get these EV plays out of the hole. We talked about volume. We talked about the movement. You're seeing that pinching going on here, right? We saw something really interesting to end the day. To end Friday, we saw the OBV get a very strong push there. I like what I'm seeing. Going into the beginning of the week, I want to see some very strong movement on the stock. I want to see a push to about 39. I don't want to see slow, stagnated movement on the stock. I want to see very quick movement. I want to see more buyers getting in. I want to see us pushing back to the 39.40 range in a hurry. I want to see the momentum definitely shift back into the stock, right? Short term, we have the resistance at 39.5. From there, you want to see a mount and get pushing straight to 41.5. From there, I think we're gonna have a little bit of turbulence, a little bit of resistance. That's what I'm looking at personally. I like what we're seeing though. All the indicators are pointing to the upside on the stock, but it's worth mentioning, long term, I love NIO. Long term, there's no reason to be concerned. The price targets are there. We love what we're seeing. There's no bad news as far as the lack of growth. The growth is there. Everything is there for the long-term potential. NIO is the Tesla of China. It potentially could be the Tesla of Europe as well with that expansion. But right now, the near term is the concern. So if you're looking for options, dated options are going to be your best bet. But I do see some near-term movement as well. Traders, that's going to wrap up the video. I just want to have a really quick update on NIO, go over a few of the new things going out, the numbers on those Chinese EVs. That's the pivotal point for the stock, in my opinion. That's showing the growth is there. That's showing there's no reason and that people are just scared and they're just getting out of the play. If you're in this for the long game, NIO is the play. They have massive room for growth. Right now, even with them being downgraded and lowered down to 63 as an average, those local highs were 200. So you can bet once we see that start to take back off, once the semiconductor problem is resolved, we're going to see those price targets start to skyrocket once again. EV is going nowhere. It's just going to expand. This wasn't a hype play at all. This is going to be a huge market in the coming years, and they haven't even started expanding yet, guys. The expansion is where the real money is going to come in. And once they get into Europe, I guarantee within a week of that Europe news, I guarantee price targets are raised back above $100 for NIO. You bet. You heard it here first. I'm telling you, NIO has absolute room to skyrocket. Imagine if you got to Tesla around the 150 range. That's what I want to compare this to. 150 on Tesla is probably the $30, the $40 range on NIO. Take that into consideration. They have massive room for growth. They have lots of partnerships in the works right now as well with the battery swapping stations. So much news coming on these guys. More updates coming. Have a good one. Namaste.